Maybe. Come on, let's go. Keep going. Come on. Good girl.
This is why you have no friends, Georgia.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and I'm traveling the country with my dog Georgia, living out of my 2016 Subaru Forester. I used to do videos about living in Japan. Now I do them about the country of my birth. Check out all the cool cultural and historical and natural places we visit on our big journey. Also, check out my cooking videos to see some tips on how to cook on the road.
So Western Kansas was a trip. I stopped in the small but very interesting town of Lucas, Kansas. First off, to see the world's largest collection of the world's smallest versions of the world's largest things. Take a second to process that. Basically, it's a museum with miniature replicas of all of the oversized things you find on the roadsides of America. Nearby, I checked out, because I had to, the coolest bathroom I've ever seen. The actual entire public bathroom is shaped like a toilet, with a little toilet paper path leading up to it. And the inside is sort of gender specifically designed, and the men's room is all sorts of like toys and things like that adorning the walls, and the women's room is more of a Mother Gaia approach, I guess you'd call it. But both were really cool. It was awesome. The Garden of Eden, which is probably the biggest claim to fame in this town, is very hard to explain, but basically a Civil War vet made this elaborate series of sculptures out of concrete. The entire thing is made of concrete. There's also a pyramid, which is actually his final resting place, and with the admission price of the tour, you're allowed to actually go in and see through a little glass panel his decomposed skeleton. You're not allowed to film inside, but I don't think anyone really wanted to see what was inside either way. But it was an amazing, interesting look into the mind of a very interesting person. He had lots of political and religious theories that he brought to life with these statues adorning the building and the grounds surrounding it. It's a very interesting place. Yeah.
Gas stations continue to surprise. I got myself a cheese roller bite, which turns out is a sausage dog. No idea why it's called a cheese roller bite. Maybe I think there's little bits of cheese in there.
After that, I stopped in Wyoming, Kansas to check out the North Pole, which is Kansas' own year-round Christmas display. It was not exactly overwhelming, but it was neat. And hey, a little Christmas in the middle of summer is not a bad thing. Down the road, Mr. Turtle. What a good place to be. After that, I checked out the world's largest Van Gogh, which, if you have a keen eye, was one of the exhibits in the world's largest collection of the smallest versions of the world's largest things. It was very cool, actually, and there was a little dog park right nearby where Georgie got to hang out. But all she does at dog parks, though, is wander around smelling other dogs' poops. And then when she's categorized and, gotten a good whiff of every other dog that's ever been in this park's fecal matter, then we can move on. But she enjoyed that. That's her favorite thing. In fact, I know it's time to leave a campsite when she comes to me and she's like, I've smelled everything here. Like, I have all the smells. We can move on. I need new smells. The windiest night I've had so far on this trip was a boondocking spot in Kansas that was right next to this reservoir, which is no longer there. It's on the map, but it's completely dried up and gone. And given the flat nature of Kansas and those high plains winds, it just sort of blew through. I mean, honestly, it was a lot of wind. Georgia loved it, running through the sunflowers and having a grand old time, but yeah. Wind is fine, but it gets to a certain point, especially in Kansas, you start to worry. My first real encounter with a tornado didn't happen until Denver, which surprised me. I was just driving along and suddenly there was just hail like I've never seen. It was like the size of a quarter, raining down everywhere. I pulled over to get to this little parking lot and my phone started working. Tornado warning, find shelter, which freaked me out a little. But I did not get to see any tornadoes, just a lot of hail.
Quarter-sized hail, a tornado warning, shelter in place. Don't worry, I found a Wendy's. Should be safe here. Well, safe from the tornado, not from the food.
I actually spent quite a while in Denver, longer than I meant to, because I had to get my computer fixed. Georgia, yeah, you, broke my laptop, and then my car, getting a little worried about it. It was making some strange sounds, so I brought that to the Subaru dealership to have it checked out, and it's fine. But Georgia was well behaved in the dealership while we waited, so good for her. But that doesn't make up for breaking my damn laptop. Get Apple Care, it's always worth it. Now, I know with all the fast food I post, it seems like I eat a lot of junk, but I want to be clear about this. I only eat fast food for lunch, and if it's a regional place that I have not yet been to, or I have not been to in a very long time. That's kind of the key thing. I consider that culinary exploration, to try fast food, but I'm not eating like, you know, McDonald's every day, folks, just to be clear about that. But anytime I see something different like a Taco John's or a Sonic, I've never had that before, so that's for me like a fun thing to check out, like a local fast food chain that we don't have back in the Northeast. But yeah, I still am eating too much fast food. Should I ask if they have any doggy treats for you? I can. Do you want anything? You sure? Of course, I was in Denver, so I stopped in to see two of their most holy sites, the International Church of Cannabis. And of course the Columbine Memorial, which was quite sad, and quite sad that something like that had to ever exist, and will not be the last one. Took a drive from Denver down to the Garden of the Gods, which is these beautiful outcroppings of red rock just south of Denver. It's gorgeous. Spent the day there. The next day I went up to Nevadaville, which is an abandoned mining town, which was much cooler on paper than it was in real life, because it really is basically just an empty spot with a couple broken down buildings and foundations, and a couple buildings still standing, but it was a little bit of a letdown, I'll be honest. As far as ghost towns go, I was hoping for more ghosts and less abandoned town. From Denver, it was off to Wyoming, eastern Wyoming. It's endless, desolate, quite beautiful in its own desolate way, but it's endless. Thank God that the speed limit went up to 80, or else I don't think I ever would have gotten out of eastern Wyoming. But you have to go through eastern Wyoming to get to western Wyoming and the Grand Tetons. Yes, they're beautiful, but my favorite part about the Grand Tetons is I love imagining the horny French fur trappers who had been in the West for so long exploring, and finally they see these giant mountains and go, "Hey, Pierre, you know what these look like? They look like a Grand Tetons. Hey, hey." They were beautiful, honestly. I expected them to be big, and I saw them when I was a kid. Most of these places I've been to when I was a kid, but I was like, oh, here's some big mountains. But as I came around the turn there and they sort of come into view, honestly, I started to get like choked up. They're just breathtaking, just absolutely breathtaking.
Leave the deer alone, Georgia.
Georgia tried to scare off any animal that came near. Like, she saved me from a mama deer and its baby deer. Although I did see a sign about deer attacks, so maybe Georgia was just looking out for my best interests, scaring off that baby deer and its mama. Idaho is basically where my entire plan got thrown out. My original plan was to go up to Wyoming at least. I wanted to go to Alaska, but I don't have time. So I went to Wyoming and then down to Oregon. But California, like that weekend, had announced they were closing all national forest land to camping. And I knew it was just gonna be a mess, and the fires were not getting any better. And so I just abandoned that. Ended up in Twin Falls, Idaho, which was a surprisingly cool little town. There's an awesome bridge there with people base jump off of. I mean, I wanted to, personally I wanted to, but they didn't have a harness with a little tandem thing for Georgia to be in, and I knew with her separation anxiety, she would be very anxious after I got crushed on the rocks at the bottom of the bridge. That would not make her happy. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to jump off this bridge. my favorite scenes of any movie is the opening of Yojimbo, where this Ronin, a master of samurai, is trying to decide where to go next. And so he grabs a stick, walks out into the road, throws it up in the air, it lands, and then he walks in that direction. Now that my plans are out the window, I was a little less sure what to do. So I picked up a stick, and then I went on Facebook and asked advice from a bunch of Facebook camping groups about what I should do. And they all said, yeah, stay the hell out of California. So that's what I did. I moved along to Idaho and then south to Utah. But Utah I will save for the next installment. You can actually kind of already see Utah behind me. So I guess kind of already gave some of it away. Spoilers! Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for following, and yeah, keep up to date on what I'm doing on my website, tokyogoodie.com, or my Instagram, or Twitter, or here. Very cool. I gotta go make dinner. Bye!